it's just an example. Purdue losing to Fresno State is okay. We can still win the Big Ten West. But me,
Billy Napier gets fired. I'm just kidding.
really the best time of the year. I will be seated watching the Red Zone for 7 hours on Sunday. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to an episode of Backyard Banter. We found Tanner in the streets of Lisle. We rescued him. He's back. James is also here, and I'm Johnny. Big weekend in college football and NFL. Much better slate, in my opinion, for college football. And we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get right into the game of the week, in my opinion. Tennessee goes to Oklahoma. SEC opener for Oklahoma. Oh, by the way, we're not doing the pick'em anymore. Tanner lost his password. But it is also, the pick'em had a lot of random games we didn't care about. So we're just going to highlight the 3 best games and roll from there. But Tennessee, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's first ever SEC game. Josh Heupel returns home to Norman, where I believe he won a national championship there. And it's just a lot on the line because Oklahoma's schedule, I don't know if you guys have seen, they play like 6 of the top 10 teams in the country. It's pretty nuts. And after Tennessee, they only get one of them at home. So, James, I will go to you first. Who's going to win this game and why?
I think Tennessee, and I think Tennessee actually wins big. Kind of like one of those Clemson, Georgia, that game. My prediction kind of remains the same. I was big on Tennessee in the preseason, and they've kind of like jumped above what I expected. Obviously, they're not playing anybody, but at the same time, they're doing what you're supposed to do, right? When Tennessee is scheduled to play a MAC school, they're supposed to go and beat the crap out of them. Like, that's just what's supposed to happen. So Tennessee is legit in that regard. You look at Oklahoma, they haven't really played anybody either. I would say their schedule to start was tougher. But like, they beat Tulane by 2 touchdowns. They beat Houston by less than a touchdown. So like, their wins are not as impressive. I mean, to beat Houston by 4 at home, in my opinion, is just, it scares me. But this game is sweet. I mean, I would imagine the atmosphere is going to be sick. I think it's a 6:30 kickoff. So this game's going to be a must watch on Saturday, absolutely. But I think Tennessee is so explosive offensively that I think they run away with this thing. I think they win by 2 touchdowns or more. I was bought in on Tennessee before. I kind of told you guys I was a little bit of a Vol fan. Unfortunately, now that Notre Dame's trying to play into a playoff now. I'm not hopping on the Tennessee bandwagon or anything, but they're a legit team. They are exactly what I think you need in this new 12 team playoff. I think the explosive offense is going to show again, and I'm excited for this game. But I think Tennessee wins by 14 or plus.
Yeah, I cannot wait for this game as well. I need kickoff to get here. This is to me, this is a helmet game. Tennessee and Oklahoma, this is a helmet game for sure. I don't know if you guys remember, probably 7-8 years ago, Baker Mayfield
went
went
into
into
Knoxville.
Stadium.
Come on.
Yep, and it was an excellent ball game between both those teams. Oklahoma ended up winning, I believe, late. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a high level game. I think Tennessee is going to run away with it. I mean, you look at their offensive play style. They play fast. They're going to get up the ball. They're going to snap it. They're going to spread you out, sideline to sideline. They have the athletes. Nico Iamaleava, I still don't know how to pronounce it. One of the best quarterbacks in the country. This is a chance for him to really get his name out there with some of those bigger guys that are in that Heisman race. Is he going to be top 3 in a Heisman this year? I don't think so, but this is an opportunity for him to make a name for himself nationwide. I think he does that. I think Oklahoma's defense is really going to struggle. Big 12 to SEC jump, going to be a little bit different playing defense in the SEC for Oklahoma. I think Tennessee is going to have the advantage up front, both sides of the ball. I think Tennessee is going to be able to air it out. They have, like I said, they have all the athletes, all the skill out wide, and I think Tennessee wins by 14 plus. I think that's a pretty good number you gave there, James, and I really like the Volunteers. I'm starting to get really high on them this year. Obviously would love to see it this week, just to kind of confirm that, yeah, they are for real. But I think we're going to see that. I think Tennessee is gonna let the whole country know that they're a legitimate contender this year, and I think that's what we'll see Saturday night.
Yeah, it's an interesting game because obviously, like I said, that place is going to be on fire. Night game for the first SEC game. of Oklahoma's history, game days there and everything. Um, a lot of people go to the box scores of Tennessee's games and just think that Nico has been lighting the world on fire. Like, he's been very good, but like in that NC State game, that'd be such a blowout. That game was 10-7 going to halftime, and then Tennessee got a pick six and kind of went from there. Tennessee's defense has been the story for me, not their offense. When you play Chattanooga and stuff like that and score 70 points, like that's cool. But when you hold NC State to 7 points and cause like 4 turnovers, that sticks out more to me. Right, I mean, you see it with Florida. Florida put up 45 on Stanford and can't get a first down against Texas A&M. So defense, everything is in the trenches. And Tennessee has James Pierce, who's a top 5 projected pick. I don't see that from him, but he's still a very good edge rusher on the top tier SEC team. Tennessee does have the weapons to stretch the field, but I do think Tennessee wins. I don't think it's by 14 plus. And I think the number in this game is really interesting because it was at 6.5 all week and it just got bet up to 7.5. If you get this game at 6.5, I would take Tennessee. But from then on, I think I'd lean Oklahoma. I think this game's going to be within 10 points. I think it's going to be maybe a late touchdown, a late field goal with like 4 minutes left to make it a 10-point game, and Tennessee wins. But again, super excited for this game. Like you said, Tanner, this is a helmet game. Tennessee hasn't been really that relevant recently, but in the early 2000s, late 90s, they were very, very relevant. You know, that Josh Dobbs year, and obviously they won the Orange Bowl a few years ago, but I'm talking like sustained success. And they got the quarterback to do it now, and then they're starting to figure out a little bit defensively. But we'll head into the next game. The winner of this game very well could be in the Big 12 championship. Utah at Oklahoma State. I have a quick pick for this one, so I'll go first. So I watched the entire Oklahoma State-Arkansas game. It's the only real team that Oklahoma State's played, if you want to call Arkansas a real team. And they allowed over 600 yards of total offense. Ollie Gordon, who was the reigning Doak Walker winner, he looks slow, and honestly, he just doesn't look as explosive as last year. I don't know if he's been putting back too many when he got that DUI that Mike Gundy just pushed, and he's a little bit slower now. But Oklahoma State's yards per carry is 108th in the nation right now. And for a team we've talked about, their offensive line all have mortgages. They're all at least 25 years old. They got Ollie Gordon, who was the best running back in the country last year. That's just not acceptable. And then Utah is the one team that brings in that smash mouth football into the Big 12. They're the only team in the Pac-12 that really played that way. And Utah brings that in. Cam Rising, who's 28, and the Oklahoma State quarterback, who's also 27. Obviously, you guys have seen that stat going around. The starting quarterback combined age in this game is 4 years higher than the starting quarterback between Anthony Richardson and Caleb Williams in the Bears Colts game. So that's insane.
Crazy.
So I think Utah's going to win, and that number's at 1.5 right now. I mean, I think Utah wins by a touchdown plus. I do Oklahoma State has to prove to me that they can run the football better than they have been in order to really convince me that they're a contender in the Big 12. And that's where anyone can win the Big 12. But, I mean, their quarterback has been winning them games. And that's not what he does even when he's in his 7th year and he's literally 26 years old. But so give me Cam Rising. I was a big fan of him 4 years ago when they were in the Rose Bowl one of those times. And I guess that was his senior year. So he's back almost for his second senior year. But, yeah, give me Utah.
Yeah, I'm a little torn. Like you guys have mentioned every week, like torn games where you don't really know where to go. Like you're going to coin flip for a decision. For me, this is how it goes because I think Utah is the better team. My concern is like Cameron Rising didn't play last week. They're saying he's good to go. But like he's a grandpa. He's a grandpa in college football. So like when these guys like sit out a game, I just get worried that the first half of them being back is going to be a little slow. They're going to be like just not all the way there. And I like Oklahoma State. Like I really do. You know, Tanner was high on them, I'm pretty sure, in the preseason. And I liked the take. And so for me, with this game being a coin flip, I think I'm going to have to go with the fact that it's at Oklahoma State. And so I'm going to give the home team the advantage here. I'm just concerned on the quarterback play of Utah. You know, I think it's going to be a slow first half for Utah. And if they go down 14 or 10 going into half, I think it's going to be tough to come back from. So that's why I'm going to go with the Cowboys here.
Yeah, I really like the Cowboys in this spot too. Johnny, you mentioned the Arkansas game. That's a game where they were down, I believe it was 21-0. They faced some real adversity in that game against Arkansas, against an SEC opponent. I know Arkansas is not going to light it up in the SEC this year, but they showed some real toughness. and an ability to come back and win a football game. And I think that was a huge test for them early in the season. They won it, and I look for Oklahoma State to play much better football this week against Utah. I think we're going to see that run game get going. You mentioned the O linemen; they're old, but Utah conference game probably your season here. Those guys are going to be awake for it. Ollie Gordon's going to be ready. I really like Alan Bowman. He's been pretty impressive this year. 8 touchdowns and 2 picks. That's a pretty good ratio. He's not turning the ball over. And in this offense, if they don't turn the ball over, they're going to score points. Defensively, when Oklahoma State's playing Utah, who knows what we get out of Cam Rising? I agree with you, James. What's he going to look like? Because really, the only game he played this year was, I think it was against like Southern Utah or something, like, and he didn't play last year. So he hasn't played a whole lot of football the last like 2 years. So who knows what we get out of Cam Rising? Utah does have some dudes up front. Oklahoma State does as well, but Utah, you're right, Johnny. They're a very physical football team. I think this is going to be a physical game. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as people might imagine for a top tier Big 12 football game, but I like Oklahoma State. Boone Pickens Stadium, pretty underrated, good environment. And the Cowboys, this is their year. I believe it is their year in the Big 12. And since it is, this is a win for them. This is a game you have to win.
Go.
Get it. I'm confident in the Cowboys.
I will push back because that Arkansas game, Arkansas lost that game. Oklahoma State didn't win it. And that is a very big thing because Arkansas did everything you shouldn't do when you're trying to close out a game. And they still somehow almost won. So we'll see. I mean, I could very well see Oklahoma State winning. That's no discredit at all. But you talk about a helmet game, Tanner. How about USC at Michigan in the Big House? Talk about a helmet game. Michigan changed their quarterback. I said it from the start. They didn't want to start, I believe his name is Davis Warren. They didn't want to start him. They built their offense around Alex Orji, but it just shows how bad Alex Orji was during camp. Davis Warren had like 4 interceptions against Arkansas State. He has not been good. I mean, obviously, no offense. There's a lot of preferred walk-ons that work out. Baker Mayfield is one of them. He's a quarterback for the Bucs. But 98% of the time, when a preferred walk-on is starting his senior year at quarterback, it's not a good sign. So Michigan makes that switch. Look, it's really simple. Michigan has one way to win this game. They're going to run the ball and control time possession and get a lead. That's how they have to win this game. Alex Orji is not a good passer at all. He'll hit one now and then, but he's not a guy that's going to make these throws in a tight coverage that USC's defense, the new improved USC's defense, is going to make you do. With all that being said, I think I'm picking Michigan. I don't know why. I just have this gut feeling that, LSU ran all over USC in that opener. And we saw LSU's run defense and offensive line is not as good as we thought. South Carolina really dominated that game from the line of scrimmage. And now you're telling me that Michigan, who has 3 backs that are really good, and Alex Orji, who can run it now too. I just think Michigan gets a lead early and they just milk that clock. I think Michigan runs it like, I'm talking 35 plus times and wins this game in the Big House to kind of salvage their season a little bit. So, James, you said the Utah one you don't have that much confidence in. This game I have no confidence in because I think if USC wins, I think USC wins by like 17 plus. But if Michigan wins, I think Michigan could win, last second field goal after controlling time possession.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's going to be another one of those games that I'm just like, okay, we're really getting these slates that we're excited about, like the big conference games. It's crazy to think this is a conference game, but it's crazy. It's amazing now. These big conference matchups, they're coming. They're just going to keep every week. We're going to have a great matchup somewhere. This game to me is going to be very interesting because it's going to be a brand new Michigan team, in my opinion. Like now, the fact that they might have a competent guy behind center, like it changes everything because defensively, Michigan is solid, like just unreal, and they have the ability. Johnny, you said they might run it 35 times. Heck, they might run it 50 times. Like truthfully, I got to give the upper hand to Miller Moss. I think he was very impressive in that opener against LSU. Obviously, they played nobody last week. I don't even remember. Remind me of who USC played. It doesn't matter. I like Miller Moss. I like USC. Part of me is a little biased because I want USC to be there we go. I want USC to be 11-0 or whatever it is when they play Notre Dame, to give Notre Dame some love. But anyway, I'm just confused on this Michigan team because they've been piss poor. Like, that's the nicest way to say what they've been. I mean, to sneak by an Arkansas State team, like they're losing to teams, or they're barely beating teams that I didn't even know existed. Obviously, Arkansas State, whatever. They looked embarrassing against Texas, and then that Fresno State Michigan game we talked about. Michigan, it was a one-score game with 6 minutes left. So Michigan has been less than impressive, and because of that, I think USC to me gets the upper hand. But again, it's just like so hard to bet against Michigan at the big house with a new quarterback. Like, what are we gonna do? But I'm just gonna gut feeling. I'm gonna go USC here, maybe to put some pressure on Tanner. But again, what a great 2:30 game. I mean, way to set us up for that night game. So Saturday is gonna be excellent.
Yeah, the corner from Michigan, what's his name? Will Johnson? Is
Will
that
Johnson.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah, the matchup in this game is going to be Will Johnson versus Zachariah Branch. Because if Miller Moss can find Zachariah Branch in space and get him the ball, it's over for Michigan. No, he might be the fastest player in the country. He's elusive. You can't tackle him in the open field. That's going to be a problem if Zachariah Branch can win that matchup against Will Johnson. However, I question if Miller Moss is going to have the time to sit back there and throw all the time. Michigan's got a good D line still. I know USC has a good O line, but USC, welcome to the Big Ten. Here you go. This is Big Ten football. Michigan's going to come. They're going to run the ball, like you guys said, 35 plus times. I think we can count on that. I think Michigan's going to have success running the ball. Alex Orji's going to open up that run game a little bit more just because he's a threat with his legs. He is a very fast quarterback himself. He can make a lot of plays with his feet. I know he's not a great thrower of the football, but sometimes in these Big Ten games, when you're running the ball for 5-6 yards a carry, and all of a sudden you pop one with the quarterback for 15-20 yards, that can be the difference. And I really like Michigan at home. This could be Michigan's wake-up call. I'm not 100% confident in picking Michigan. I am picking Michigan, but this is either going to be their wake-up call or this is going to be their moment where it's kind of back to reality before the Harbaugh days. So we're gonna find out what Michigan is this Saturday. We're gonna know what Michigan football is all about without Jim Harbaugh, which is why I'm excited to watch this game. But I'm gonna rock with Michigan at home. Not confident. I could see Miller Moss coming out and getting a big road win, but I'm gonna rock with the Wolverines. Can't pick against them at the big house. Second loss at the big house. That just doesn't happen for Michigan football.
That is very true. James, big one for your Illini too. We're not going to really break it down that much, but Nebraska coming in, come on, big game Friday night.
I'm not too confident in the Illini. I think Nebraska's got it rolling. I really do. I don't think they've played anybody, but because Colorado's nobody. But I don't think the Illini have either. I mean, that Kansas win looked amazing, but then Kansas goes and loses to UNLV, so it's like. Nice. So I don't know. Good game. I can't wait to watch it tomorrow night. I mean, Friday Night Football. Great. I mean, sign me up for ranked on ranked Big Ten matchup Friday night. So I'm looking forward to it. But I think Nebraska's got it. So
yeah, we'll see. It'll be a fun Friday night game. But we'll move over to NFL. The most surprising 0-2 team to me and probably to all of us is the Ravens, and they're going to Jerry World this week. And you never say. I will say, I mean, this is basically a must-win for them. How tough that division is, especially with the Steelers looking good. I mean, they haven't played anyone, but the Steelers looking competent at least. I mean, not really offensively, but they have like an historic defense. And, obviously Cincinnati's another team that's 0-2. So two big dogs. All of us picked them to be 1-2 in this division are right now 3-4. Baltimore goes to Dallas. Baltimore has to win this game, right? First of all, I think Dallas' defense sucks. I just think they got bailed out in week 1 because Cleveland is literally end up being a bottom 3 offense in football. So I think Baltimore goes in and takes care of business and kind of reestablishes themselves as what could be a top 5 team this year.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, in my opinion, Lamar has not been very good passing the ball at all, in my opinion. I don't think they're getting Derrick Henry involved enough. I think for me, I'm kind of sick and tired of watching Derrick Henry because I don't know if it's because he's so impressive to watch because he's so big that I just want to see teams hand the ball off to him. But when he was in Tennessee, I feel like they never gave him the ball. And I mean, I think he had like 17 or 18 carries last week, but like I don't think it's enough. And I think the Ravens are going to be able to run all over the Cowboys. And so I think not only is it a must win, I think they're going to win. I feel I say that very confidently. I mean, last episode, Johnny and I, we talked about the most surprising 0-2 team. It's like, sure, they lost to the Chiefs. That was a great game. They literally lost by a centimeter, right? But then to lose to the Raiders, it's like, okay, what are we doing? Like at home against the Raiders, like come on now. And but why? Lamar was like 60% completion rate again after he did the same thing in week 1. Like he has not been fantastic. So I think that we're going to get a big step in Lamar. I think he is one of the best quarterbacks in this league, but he's got to start throwing like it because sure he's great with his feet, but I mean, he's going to have to start throwing the ball more confidently, I guess, and just complete more passes because they have plenty of talent. Like the Baltimore Ravens, don't kid you. I mean, let's not act like they're starting 0-2, but we could all see them in the AFC Championship game, right? So, I think it's not only a must win, but I think they're going to get it. I think Lamar steps up. So,
Yeah, this game, I mean, the two biggest frauds in the NFL to me preseason. The Ravens were very good last year. They're a very good football team, won a lot of one-score games, but that's what the Ravens do. They'll go be one of the best teams in the AFC in the next year. They're hovering around 500, might sneak into playoffs. That's kind of what I expected out of the Ravens this year. I think Derrick Henry's washed. I don't think he's any good anymore. I'm not afraid to sit here and say that. I didn't like that pickup for the Ravens in the first place. I mean, he's 31, 32 years old. He's taken a lot of hits. He's washed. He probably runs a 5.2 40 now. So congrats. You got Derrick Henry. The Ravens last week had, I believe, a 9-point lead late in the third, early fourth. And in past years, the Ravens with a 9-point second half lead, that's like white on rice. That's a win all day long. But the Ravens choked it last week against a terrible team against the Raiders. And that's very shocking to me because the way the Ravens play football, that should never, ever happen. So that's very concerning for me with the Ravens. Now, when I look over at the Cowboys and their defense, I think this is an average defense at best. I think if they play offense that's not very good, they're going to look pretty dominant. When they play an offense that's competent, they're going to look pretty bad. Saints made them look pretty bad last week. I have zero feel in this game. I think Dak needs to be better. I think Lamar needs to be better. I think both teams are overrated preseason. If I were to make a prediction, I would probably go with the Cowboys just because they're at home. And I could see a pretty big bounce back out of the Cowboys after getting just torn apart on their home field last year. I like the Cowboys to respond, but again, I have zero feel in this game. Both teams are overrated. I mean, I can confidently say they're both overrated. I wouldn't be shocked if both these teams miss the playoffs, and that's me speaking truthfully. I'm not very high.
That'd be crazy. Anyway,
I think that would be crazy, but
I think if both teams miss it, it'd be a little bit wild. But I mean, Tanner, I don't necessarily 100% disagree with you. I could see Baltimore taking a step back as well. But anyway, the beloved Chicago Bears trying to get back in the win column. Tanner, you weren't here for the last episode, but I basically said James and I both agreed that it's not on Caleb Williams right now. His offense line is atrocious, and that DeAndre Swift has looked not only bad because people are in the backfield tackling him almost immediately. He looks slow, and he doesn't look like he had that same acceleration he had about 2 years ago. But opponent eases up a little bit. They play the Colts. So what are your guys' feel on that game?
Yeah, well, the Bears' offensive line has been a major problem. You could point to Caleb. I see it if you do it. But to me, the only thing that I've been disappointed in so far, aside from maybe Keenan Allen not being healthy, is the offensive line and how bad it is. To give them a little bit of leeway, I'm still frustrated in them. But to be fair, they've gone against two very tough defensive fronts in Tennessee and Houston, two of the better fronts in the league. The Colts defense it's horrific. It's terrible. It is one of the worst defenses in the league. They don't have anybody scary in the secondary. They have one good tackler in their linebacking core, and their only threat defensively is out Sunday in DeForest Buckner. If the Bears offense doesn't go in and score 24 plus points, I'll be a little bit concerned. I still think this offense has time. It needs to click. It will over time. I'm confident in that. They looked better last week. I know I didn't really get to talk about the game, but the fact that the offense actually was able to move the ball a little bit and put some points on the board, that was a positive out of me. And the Bears just went in and competed with a Super Bowl contender on Sunday Night Football. I look for them to respond this week in Indy. I think the Colts defense, like I said, is terrible. I think the Bears should win this game. Not easily, but I think this should be a pretty comfortable win for the Bears. I don't think they'll get down. I don't think they'll be down in the second half. I could see them getting down early, but I think the Bears are going to end up running away with this one, 7 to 10 points. Fairly confident in my Bears this weekend, and I know I got a lot of Colts people watching this. Potentially, I'm sorry, your defense sucks, and you need to fire Chris Ballard, but that's a discussion for a different day. He is one of the worst.
Make
GMs
sure they
in.
watch it. Send it to all of them and point them to this clip. Make sure they watch it. But they'll like my pick before you go to you, James. I think the Colts are going to win. I don't know why. Maybe it's my Anthony Richardson bias since I'm a Gator fan. But it's just hard to imagine. The Colts have too many pieces, in my opinion, to start 0-3. And the Bears offense has to show me something. And I know it's not all on Caleb, but he could do a better job of doing some stuff. Someone needs to shake him and tell him he's not in college anymore. And he can't do these crazy runaround plays 6 times a game. I know his offensive line is atrocious. I told James this. I don't know if you agree. Brian Pohl's focused on the wrong thing. It's really cool to have 3 really good receivers. Doesn't matter if Caleb Williams doesn't have more than 2 seconds to throw the football. So anyway, long season, I think the Bears could easily still win 9 games. But if the Bears are in improvement mode to me, I need to see Caleb Williams go out and throw a touchdown pass maybe. That would be cool until I really kind of put more confidence in the Bears. And like I said, I believe the Colts roster is too good to start 0-3, especially with 2 of those games at home.
Yeah, there's a lot to break down, like what you guys just said, because like we already talked about the offensive line, what like Johnny and I did, and I just need a big step out of Darnell Wright. That's the one. I need a big step out of him. That's the biggest deal. I told Johnny Tanner that I don't care if those other 4 are like average. Darnell Wright was a top 10 draft pick. He's got to be good. So that's the
year.
And he had exactly he did exactly what we wanted him to do his rookie year. So you got to take a step forward, not a step back. And right now, borderline, he's taking 4 steps back. So it's frustrating. That's a big person to watch this weekend for me. Can Darnell Wright take a step forward from the last?
You're wrong. He's not even taking 4 steps back. He's taking 1 and he's getting
1
dropped.
and then running, and then he's running, and then he's running to go get the defensive end. Yeah, you're right. So that's the thing. We talked about the offensive line. We talked about Swift being just not very good. Rome has been really bad, in my opinion. He's not getting open. I mean, truthfully, he's just not getting open. So here's the thing. Like, I understand when you look at the box score, you're like, well, Caleb's getting pressured. If you and I watched a YouTube video of like Rome's routes, like he's just not getting open. So there's no like Caleb, like last week without Keenan Allen, you were like, okay, big step for Rome here. And he just wasn't getting open. So that's a disappointing thing for me. I agree with what Johnny said. The fact is Joe Alt wasn't there. And I think because Joe Alt wasn't there, they went with a receiver and Rome was a clear pick. But here's my opinion on the Colts. I told Johnny this earlier in the week. I love this matchup for the Bears. I'm going to say something crazy, and it's not crazy, Johnny. You're going to hate it, but I think I don't think Anthony Richardson's very good.
I think he has all the potential in the world, but outside of having insane arm talent,
I think he does.
Agree with you.
I think he's really good at rolling out and saying, "Hey guys, watch this. I'm going to go throw it 70 yards down the field." But other than that, I mean, his completion rate's below 50% on the season. He's not,
and it was in college too. I mean, it was bad. I think he's a worse version of Jalen Hurts right now. He's another guy that needs to prove it to me too. Trust me, I'm a big Gator fan, I'm a big Anthony Richardson fan, but he hasn't shown me anything that gives me confidence that he's
he just hasn't been good, and he remains relevant because he makes those long throws and whatnot, and he plays for the Colts, and so whatever. But like last week, I tuned into the last 5 minutes of that game versus the Packers because I needed like Jonathan Taylor to score a tud or whatever, and I was so disappointed, and hey, it was for fantasy reasons, guys. Fantasy, of course. I was so disappointed.
You're not an athlete anymore.
Yeah, but I worked for a college, so I've got to be, fantasy. I was so disappointed watching Anthony Richardson on the sideline. He looked like one of those like terrible guys that just sits on the sideline and is like upset at his team that they're putting him in that situation. Again, I have never met Anthony Richardson. I don't want to. This podcast will never get to Anthony Richardson. So, but at the same time, it's like I just don't like how he acted on the sideline last week. And so I think the Bears are going to expose the Colts. I don't think the Colts are very good. I think they can easily start 0-3. I don't think they're very good because they don't have a good quarterback. Caleb Williams hasn't been very good, but I think he's better than Anthony Richardson. I mean, I really think Anthony Richardson sucks. I think if Jonathan Taylor gets involved, the Colts have a decent chance because, I mean, the Bears looked pretty solid last week, but I'm a little concerned maybe if Jonathan Taylor can get going. But again, I don't think Anthony Richardson's very good, so I think the Bears win by 10 plus. So
Yeah, and two quick thoughts here. I think the difference in this game is the fact that the Bears have an elite defense. I'm not afraid to sit here and say the Bears have an elite defense. I think they've proven that over the last half season and into this season. The Colts do not. The Colts do not have a good defense at all. And then the other difference is I'm still, because I know people who are Colts fans, I still see like Indianapolis Colts stuff come through on my feed and articles and stuff like that. And one of the biggest complaints out of Colts Nation right now is this is not a team that's tough. They have no toughness.
no,
And this is a Bears team that is hungry. They believe they're good, and they have a lot of toughness. And I think that's going to be the difference in this game. I don't think the Colts culture is very good, and I think it's starting to show across the board because they have a terrible GM.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you guys. I think it's going to be an interesting game to say the least. So I'm going to give you guys 3 more games. We're not going to break them all down. I'm going to give you guys 3 more games, and you guys are going to tell me what game that you guys are looking forward to the most. So the 3 games, first of all, loaded NFL slate. And so these 3 games, Chargers, Steelers, matchup of 2-0 teams. Eagles at Saints, the most surprising team maybe versus the most disappointing team in week 2 and the Eagles. And then the Cardinals at Lions. Cardinals, again, in that surprising team range. They could easily be 2-0 right now. So, Tanner, we'll go to you first. Which one of those 3 games stands out, and who do you think is going to win?
My bias would say the Lions Cardinals game, but I'm really intrigued by the Steelers Chargers game. I think the Chargers, to me, look like a team that can make a very deep playoff run. Jim Harbaugh is an unbelievable head coach. They have a ridiculous amount of talent on the defensive side of the ball, and we know he can coach a defense. And then that run game, we knew coming in, Harbaugh's going to run the ball. He's going to put Justin Herbert in play action rollouts, play action step up in the pocket. That's what he's going to do all season. And that run game looks really, really good. Their O-line looks really, really good. That is a football team that fits the way Coach Harbaugh wants to coach, and I think they're very, very dangerous. And the fact that they get to go into Pittsburgh and play a Steelers defense that is probably the best in the NFL right now. I know they haven't played the best teams early on. That Pittsburgh defense is good year in and year out. And Mike Tomlin versus Jim Harbaugh is an unbelievable coaching matchup. I'm excited to keep watching Justin Fields. I think him not turning the ball over is the biggest thing for him in Pittsburgh, and he hasn't done that yet. This game is going to be a really good football game. It's going to be high scoring, no, but it's going to be a lot of good defense, good coaching. It's just going to be a really good pro football game. And I like the Chargers to win in Pittsburgh, but these are 2 teams that I think play the right way with what they have talent-wise, and 2 really good coaches, 2 of the best coaches in the sport. So I'm really excited for that game.
yeah, I think we're blessed
about
in
you,
the
James?
3 o'clock, the afternoon schedule. I would say out of those 3 games, I'm going to go Lions Cardinals. I'm not going to watch the Chargers play the Steelers because I think they're 2 duds. I think Dobbins has been amazing for the Chargers, but Justin Fields still sucks at football. So I'm just not going to watch that. So that's pretty harsh. I get it, but I don't care. I really don't. I hate the Steelers are 2-0. I absolutely hate it. Because their defense is so good, they're 2-0, which is whatever. The Bears, if they were 2-0, people would have said the same thing. But yeah, I'm not going to watch. Probably not going to tune into that game. So I like the Lions Cardinals game a lot because I think it's 2 teams that could be 2-0 themselves. So I would say out of those 3 games, I'd go with that one.
Yeah, for sure. I like the Eagles Saints game as well. It feels bad to say. I think the Saints are still in improvement mode to me. If they go out and score 40 plus again against the Eagles, then I'll bow down to Derek Carr and Dennis Allen, their head coach, who I said was maybe the worst coach in football. But I'll bow down to them if they do it again. But yeah, loaded week, loaded college football league. loaded NFL week. MLB playoffs coming up in 2 weeks. So it's getting that time of the year, man. Getting that time of the year. But if you guys made it this far, leave a like, subscribe, share it to someone, and we'll come back with a new episode for you guys on Tuesday.
See ya.
Peace.